Sing. No, no, no. Heather, that's fine. This is the one.
He just beats us with it.
I'm getting paid to be official. I would like to be official. Oh, thank you, sweetheart. Merci, merci, merci. Good morning and happy whatever the day is. Thursday. Yeah, we're kind of confused for the day. Welcome. And I call this meeting today in this beautiful city of Heber officially to order. Let us start our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, and Commissioner Law is going to lead us. Please all rise.
Please join me. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I think we need to excuse Commissioner Rondon and then Carlos, right? Good job. I remember the right people. Thank you. So now we would like to invite Mayor Heidi Franco to come and welcome us to the city of Heber, the beautiful city, home of the Heber Creeper.
Yes, and so much more. So thank you and welcome, commissioners. Welcome, UDOT, to all of your expert staff and those that have joined us today. We are so happy that you're here with us in our historic city hall, in our beautiful city and in our beautiful valley. I want to personally welcome you and thank you for all of the work that you do for our entire state. We are desperately dependent upon you to move and to be able to get to all of the places that we need to go to in our very busy and our high growth state. I just especially want to ask your consideration to help us protect the great beauty and the quality of life that we have here. And so much of the reason that we do live here, and I've lived here for almost 3 decades, others have lived here so much longer, right? But the reason I do live here and that we want to stay living here is because of the legacy that we have in this valley of our open space, particularly our north fields. To most of us, that is just sacred space that makes us feel grounded and gives us a high quality of life. And so we know that you're going on a tour today. We know that you're considering the EIS options that, of course, we desperately need in this valley because of all the growth that we have approved in this valley, all right? But to the vast majority, which they have voted on 3 times in this valley, that North Fields area is just sacred. It's a legacy that we want to pass on to future generations, just as it was passed on to us. So we appreciate your consideration of protecting the beauty and the legacy that we have in this valley. And thank you again for all of your hard work.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilman?
Hi, I'm Mark Nelson with the Wasatch County Council, and I also wanted to welcome you. Thank you very much for being here, for your great work for the state of Utah. I will echo the words of Mayor Franco about the importance of the quality of life here in the North Field. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Mayor, I have spent many moons in this community. I have had conventions, real estate convention in Daniel Summit Lodge, and also Sister City of Zermatt. And I've enjoyed it so much. And I know when my mother-in-law was looking at a place, secluded place and beautiful place to finish her book before she passes on, I brought her here to this community. And she spent some times and she finished the book. And she dedicated the book to me. It says, to my only and favorite son-in-law. So I have that. And of course, for the youngsters, if you want to have a happy life, be nice to mother-in-law, because you will have the happy wife and then happy life follows. So this is the beautiful community, and we love to save as much as we can, all the beauty, all the scenery. But then again, remember, you have to move in order to enjoy the scenery and beauty of the land. So you cannot be landlocked. So we will try to be sensitive, try to be very attentive to your needs. And this commissioner sitting there next to me, they're all wonderful people. And they have communities just like yourself that live and would like to preserve as much as history and scenery. We will do our best, Mayor. Thank you. With that, let us have an introduction of the commission first and then UDOT family. So I'm going to go to my left, please. State your name and your jurisdiction.
Good morning. My name is Natalie Gochner. I represent Region 2, which is Tooele, Summit, and Salt Lake County. I work at the University of Utah, and great to be with you today.
I'm Commissioner Kevin Van Tassel. I live in Myrtle, Utah. I'm a commissioner at large. Many of you here in the room from the county and city, I know we've worked together a lot while I was in the Senate, and it's good to be here with you. As I walked the hall today, as I got here a little earlier, it's good to see some of my relatives' pictures hanging. My mother's family is all from the Heber Valley, the Thomases, the Watson, the Murdochs, all of those tied together. In fact, my grandfather on my mother's side, his mother and dad died within 2 weeks of each other. They lived up Center Creek, and he was the middle of 11 children, and at 12 years old left to go to work for his uncle out on Tabby Mountain to herd sheep. The deal was, if you herd my sheep, and I'll make sure your brothers and sisters are fed. So Heber's a great area, has a great history for me, and it's good to be here with you.
Thank you.
My name is Donna Law. I am a commissioner at large, and my home is in Cedar City. My roots don't go back the way Senator Van Tassel's or Commissioner Van Tassel's do, but I had some wonderful growing up times here with my cousins in the Heber Valley. And it's such joy to be in this beautiful building. Thank you for hosting us.
Commissioner Lou Kramer, I live in downtown Salt Lake. I'm Commissioner at Large, and I also echo the love for Heber. I have some bad news for Commissioner Van Tassel. I did the same walk down there, and some of them are my relatives too, Kevin, so
Maybe we're related.
there goes your reputation. But we love being here and all that it represents, and particularly on a beautiful day like today. So thank you again for the warm welcome.
Good morning. My name is Jim Evans, Commissioner assigned to Region 3, and Heber Valley is part of Region 3, comes from Utah County all the way across the middle of the state here. I was thinking this is my third time up here in the last week, so I love to come up here for different events and activities and things. So it's wonderful to be here with you today.
Thank you. And my name is Nagi Zanadi from sunny St. George. And I think at the introduction, I can conclude that we're all cousins. Again, we would like to excuse Commissioner Rhonda Millov. She has on trip of the outside the country, but she sends her love. So Terry, Lisa, whoever's going to start.
Harry Newell, Deputy Director, Planning and Investments. Lisa Wilson, Deputy Director, Engineering and Operations.
Eric Rasband, Region 3 Planning Manager.
Ron Clayton, Region 3 Recruiter. Jeff McKay, Region 3 Communication Manager. Andrew George, Region 3. Program Manager. Rick Torgerson, Region 4 Director. Eliana, STIP Coordinator. Peterson, Operations Director. Ben Hewitt, Program Development. Robert Stewart, Region 2 Director.
And we would like to acknowledge and welcome our partners from federal government, Ivan Morera and Bridget Mendel. Thank you for being here. And again, we'd like to excuse Carlos Becerras, our the Executive Director, who is in Washington, D.C., right? No? On the way? What? What am I doing here?
Flippy's boss.
Okay. Checking on me, that's for sure. Okay. At this point, we would like to have the local area presentation, and Region 3, you're in charge, Bob.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. It's a pleasure to be here in this beautiful community on such a beautiful day. No matter how you got here this morning, you drove through some construction. We've been very busy here in this community, and there's a lot going on, whether we're talking about planning studies that were alluded to earlier, or construction projects that are either in construction or projects that are in design. And so we have a lot to talk about this morning. We're going to start off with Jeff Dupay. We have our project manager that was key to this presentation and our tour later. His family was tested positive for COVID, so we got a curveball thrown at us about a day ago. So we're going to make it work. Craig will join us online. So we'll turn it over to Jeff Dupay.
Thank you, Rob. Commissioners, it's good to be here and good to be with you. So what I'm going to be talking about is just giving you an update. I have to go back and forth between my glasses so I can read what I've got. Just about some of the active projects that, as Rob mentioned, that you had to experience. You got the opportunity to experience as you came into Heber. The first project that we want to update you on is the Mayflower Bridges project. That project was done in coordination with the MIDA development that we're going to actually see later on. We're going to stop up there and take a look at that. Where we currently are as far as status goes is we're wrapping up all the support walls and getting that concrete coated underneath the actual bridges. The bridges have been in place since last fall, and so we will wrap up that work later on in June, as well as place the final. It's called a polymer overlay, but that's that final driving surface that we put on top of the bridges. It helps seal the bridge from the water, but also provides what we call friction, or it gives enough grip as you're crossing over, so you've got good traction when you're crossing over those bridges. We still have that to put down later on in June. So we should be wrapping this up towards the end of June. The next project is a project that we just got underway this year. We're doing a couple of different things with it. The first thing is we're rebuilding or replacing the bridge decks over the Provo River. And that's what you can see here on this map. We've got the uphill or the westbound direction closed off. The bridge deck has been removed, and we're starting to rebuild that. That work is going to take us into July timeframe, and with the concrete that we're trying to make sure it's scheduled, we're looking at switching traffic onto the new bridge around the 1st of August. So we're going to see, our goal is to keep at least 2 lanes uphill open in that area at all times, and 1 lane, and only 1 lane open in the eastbound direction, or that downhill direction as you come into Heber. In addition with that, we are also building or replacing or repairing some of the concrete panels that have settled or have shown additional signs of wear and tear. We're also replacing various segments along the corridor, from the bridge decks up to about the county line. So in order to kind of keep traffic moving as best as we possibly can, we're taking additional lanes over a 10-day period, removing some of the damaged concrete and replacing it, and then taking a break. The goal is to try to minimize those closures over the weekends, because that's what, especially now, this is the last day for a lot of school districts. We're going to see a lot more traffic coming into the area during the summertime. So we're trying to minimize that as much as we possibly can, but still get the work done. So that work is scheduled to be completed later this fall. In addition, like we've mentioned in other opportunities, we operate under the philosophy that good roads cost less, and so we're always applying treatments at key points during the pavement life to make sure that the pavement is in good condition and lasts as long as we can possibly make it. So we've got a couple of chip seal locations that are going to start in June, July timeframe. And that there's two locations. One is up Daniels Canyon from Clegg Canyon up to the summit. So there by the lodge. And then also from Soldier Creek, so just east of Strawberry Reservoir, all the way out to Duchesne, we're going to be resurfacing or placing that chip seal there. So there's going to be some additional traffic delays in order to do that work. You have to slow things down. We've got to put pilot cars in place in order to keep speeds down, as well as get the roadway resurfaced. And that work will be wrapped up later this summer. If you drove up US 189 in Provo Canyon, you notice that we've had several areas where we are upgrading the center beat or the median barrier, removing the guardrail. This is a phased project, so we've done some of this work in other locations, and we're just continuing as funding allows to make these improvements. It's not just a barrier replacement, it's also we're installing additional drainage systems in the median of the roadway to help that roadway perform even better and to convey the water in a more controlled environment. So if you look at this map, we actually have in that red section, the blue and the purple, we're actually working in all three of those locations right now. The contractor had one of their crews became more available, and so we wanted to get on top of that and get that work done as quickly as we can. So that work is scheduled to be complete in fall of this year. Yeah.
Those rumble strips again? What?
The sinusoidal? The sinusoidal rumble strips. So one of the things with that, and I'm glad you brought that up, because in addition to this, we're placing those sinusoidal rumble strips, and we'll kind of show you where that is, where we're going to be doing that as part of the tour. What those when you drive on rumble strips right now, it rattles your car. You hear it, you feel it. You'll still have that, but instead of being that jarring movement, it's more like a sine wave. So it's a little more gradual. So in the vehicle, you'll still feel it and you'll still hear it. But from if you're nearby, you live nearby, you won't hear it. It really changes that volume that we're used to hearing when if someone's driving by and you hear that constant vibration if a car is running over those. And so we're actually placing those just north here of town, between here and SR 32. And we're going to be doing that in the median area of the roadway.
It wakes you up, but
It still wakes the driver up, but it's a lot. The noise impacts are far less
the neighborhood.
for the neighborhoods. Yep.
Thank you, Jeff.
Great question. Okay, and with that, we are going to turn the time over to Craig Hancock. He's going to talk through the next pieces of our presentation.
Thank you. It's good to be with you. I'm glad that I'm able to participate with the technology that we have. I'm the project manager assigned to the Wasatch County area. This is a relatively new assignment for me. And it's echo that's been said earlier. This has been a beautiful place to work with, and I've had an opportunity to meet with many of the folks that live in the area, and they're wonderful people as well. So what I'd like to do for the next few minutes is go over a few of the projects that I'm working on right now. These are in various stages of project development. So I hope you're seeing the slides right now. I saw him a second ago on my screen, but I'm not seeing the slides right now.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So the first project that I would like to talk about is the Heber Valley Corridor EIS that we have currently going on. I'm sure many, as you well know, the bypass has been part of the Heber and Wasatch County planning for many years. A few years back, the local leaders came to UDOT and asked UDOT to lead out on an environmental study, and so we've been engaged in that for the last couple years. During that time, we've been able to do a thorough technical analysis of the traffic and safety, and to help us establish the need for the project. We've held a number of meetings with our resource agencies. We've formed a stakeholder working group, which comprises of many of the members in the community, and we've held several meetings with them. We've also held 3 public meetings as we've gone through the process at various stages, where we've received some great feedback. And our goal here is to be able to understand the concerns of the community and help guide us and shape us as we move forward in our study. Based on the feedback that we've received, we've been able to develop a purpose and need statement for the project, as well as a number of alternatives that have the potential to meet the purposes of the project. And we are currently in the process of screening through those alternatives and narrowing those down to just a handful that we'll take into our draft EIS and evaluate in further detail. What you have on the slide right now is our purpose statement for the environmental study. The purpose statement is a pretty important statement for an environmental document like this, in that it defines the high level goals for the project and what we're trying to achieve. And it also provides us a framework to evaluate the different alternatives. The purposes of this project really divide into three components. First, we're looking to improve the regional and local mobility on US 40. As we've studied the traffic and the congestion, currently we're experiencing low levels of service on portions of US 40 through the Main Street area, and we expect that those lower levels of service will continue as growth continues, and we look out to our 2050 planning horizon. Secondly, we're looking to provide opportunities for non-motorized transportation. And what that means is we'll be evaluating active transportation, multimodal trails, as part of our solution for the roadway. So we'll evaluate that right along with as we evaluate roadway alternatives. And then finally, we're hoping to come up with a solution that will allow Heber City to meet their vision for an historic town center. Heber City has expressed a desire and have plans to continue to have a vibrant historic center, and so we're looking for solutions that will provide those opportunities as well. If you wouldn't mind moving to the next slide, please. With with the purpose statement, we've now developed a number of alternatives that have the potential to help address and meet the purposes of the project. Last October, we held a public meeting over 2 days, and where we felt like we had really great attendance. We had over 250 people attend we had it held it over 2 nights. And we also held an open comment period where we received well over 650 comments. What I'd like to do for the next few minutes is go over high level the alternatives that we presented and that we are currently evaluating. You'll have greater opportunity to see these later on as we go through the tour later today. The first group of alternatives, and these are focused in areas. This first group of alternatives is focused on making improvements to Main Street. We call these the US 40 alternatives. These alternatives range in adding additional lanes on Main Street. Some of these alternatives also look to make improvements to traffic operations, improvements to signalized intersections such as roundabouts, or adding additional left turn lanes at intersections. We also have a one-way couplet alternative, a reversible lanes alternative, and it also included a tunnel and bridge option alternative as well. If we wouldn't mind going to the next slide. And by the way, I should point out that these maps are oriented with north pointing to the left to help maybe get you oriented a little bit better. The next group of alternatives that we're evaluating are what we call our west bypass alternatives. We have 4 alternatives here that we have been looking at and studying. The first 3 alternatives, that we've labeled on this map W, A, B, and C, are alternatives that generally follow the bypass that has traditionally been looked at with the past Wasatch and Heber Valley studies. Those 3 alternatives tie in on 189 on the south end, and there's a couple variations on how we tie that in, and we'll point those out during the tour. And then on the north end of these 3 alternatives, they tie in again on US 40 at about 800 north. The fourth alternative that's shown on this map is one that was presented to us through our public comment process. It's labeled, we call it the WD alternative. And it's a little different. As you can see, rather than tying in at about 800 south, or excuse me, 800 north, it extends up through the North Fields and ties in at 2 locations on the north end, one near Potter Lane and the other at the SR 32 River Road junction. Also, as part of this west alternative, we have more on the kind of towards the left side of the map there is what we call a 13th South extension that extends. It runs east and west and ties in at on US 40 just south of the 189 junction. And that helps to provide the connectivity back to US 40. Next slide, please. The next group of alternatives that we'll look at is what we call our east alternative concepts. We have 3 concepts here. They follow generally along or close to 1200 East or Mill Road on the east side of Heber City. On the south end, they connect to US 40 and quite a bit, a mile or so south of the 189 junction. And on the north end, they tie in up near 800 North. And a portion of this follows along also an alignment that Heber City calls their eastern bypass. And so we're also so these are the main alternatives that we're looking at. If you wouldn't mind going to the next slide. There's one more final alternative that we're required, NEPA requires us to look at, and that's the transit alternative. Wasatch County prepared a transit study back in 2020 and had several recommendations in that study to implement transit in the Wasatch County area. And we've used those recommendations to develop an alternative, a transit alternative as well. We can go to the next slide, please. So as I mentioned, we're currently in a process of screening through these many alternatives. The goal of screening is to evaluate these alternatives to see if they first are feasible and reasonable to do. Those that are not really feasible will be eliminated. We also look to evaluate these alternatives to see if they meet the purposes of the project. And once again, if there's some of these alternatives don't necessarily fully meet the purposes, we're screening those out. And then the other screening criteria that we're using is where we look at impacts to some of our significant and regulatory resources, and namely the wetlands, some historic properties and parks, and alternatives that have high impacts to those areas, and we also eliminate as well. And so the goal of our screening process is to reduce the number of alternatives that we've been evaluating down to just a handful. And at that point, we will take those into our draft EIS and then evaluate those remaining alternatives in fuller detail. At that point, we'll look at many of the other impacts as well, other community impacts, open space, development, visual impacts, and those kinds of things. If we can go to the next slide. This slide depicts the schedule that we're on. Currently, we're just about ready to finalize the screening results, and we're on track to publish those results by June 7th. And at that time, we'll be holding, as well as publishing all the results of our screening, we'll also be holding a 45-day comment period where we will hope to have get comments on the results of that and the process that we went through, and be looking for feedback from the community on that. After that, we'll begin drafting our EIS, where we'll do that more in-depth analysis. We expect to continue working on that through the rest of this year and early next year, and then we'll hold an additional public comment period at that time. So with that's basically a high-level, quick overview of the Heber EIS. Maybe before I move on to the other couple projects, are there any questions I could answer at this point?
Thank you. Kevin Van Tassel. My question is we're looking at the bypass and it's resolving, we're looking at being able to improve in and around Heber City. But the question that keeps coming up as I keep talking and hearing things is we've got thousands of units that are getting ready to come on around Heber City, whether it's around Jordanelle, whether it's out in Daniels, whether it's anywhere in between. Do we have enough data that we're looking at the whole picture, not just what we're into here? That concerns me because there's only Highway 40 and Provo Canyon to move this traffic. And I have some concerns that we're not looking at all of the picture. We've got a little corner of it here that needs to be looked at, and I'm not saying it doesn't. But what are we going to do about Hideout and all of these other communities are planning on building huge? I heard there's a development coming that you're welcome to go there, Nagi. You could buy 2 lots. They're only 800,000 apiece.
Looked at them yesterday.
But regardless of those, people want to come and it's the lifestyle. And I'm just concerned that we're making, as we look at this, I worry about the whole picture of, in my own mind, we're going to be doing some things to Highway 40 between Heber and I-80. I-80 is going to have some attention. We got a lot of big projects coming up to keep moving here in the county, here in the Wasatch back. And I just feel that I have some concerns and I'll look forward to results, but I want to make sure that we're looking at all of it, not just this piece of it.
Thank you. Yes, please.
If I may, just to respond to that a little bit, part of our whole process involves the long-range plan, and that's kind of the beauty of it. We're looking out 30 years with the long-range plan, trying to take into account that growth. So we do model that, and every environmental document works within that framework so that they can understand what's going on around them as well, and then fits into that. And they are looking out at that 30-year time frame. So that is something that our process helps us take into account as we move forward with each individual project.
I appreciate that and I understand that. But what happens if this growth all occurs in the next 10 years? If our model's off? I mean, I'm not saying it, but we were in St. George, and everywhere we went, we have thousands of units getting ready to come on. Are we confident enough in our model that we'll be able to not come to gridlock?
I think things are changing quickly. We're trying to stay on top of those. One of the tools we have is our emerging area planning. We are working on the areas that we see are starting to change very quickly, maybe getting a little ahead of us at times. We're trying to concentrate on that, and we did receive funding. I'll look at Andrea last year or the year before, $1 million of emerging area planning money so that we can start to look at some of those areas that are changing quickly and make sure that we're trying to stay on top of that.
Thank you. And I knew it was on your agenda, but I think in this forum and in this meeting, I think everyone needs to understand some of the issues we're battling and getting ready for. Thank you.
Greg, any more?
All right. If like I say, we'll have more opportunities during the tour to answer other questions you might have and be able to point out some of these alternatives that I've been speaking to. Let's go ahead and move on to some other projects. Wouldn't mind going to the next slide, please. The next project I'd like to talk about is our US 189 widening project. This is the last section of US 189 to be widened. It's the bottleneck portion of 189 near the north end of Deer Creek Reservoir. The plan here is to add 2 additional lanes to this section to improve capacity, and also to make safety improvements as well. We've been able to evaluate the capacity and the safety, and this area will certainly benefit from the work that we do. Some of the things we'll be doing is upgrading the roadway geometrics and the alignment to upgrade those to current roadway standards, and which will mean flattening those curves out and bring those up to current standards to the way to the speeds that people are driving it today. We'll also be providing a deer fencing. One of the concerns we have in this area are wildlife hits, and so we'll be adding some deer fencing that will help alleviate some of those concerns as well. We're also looking to make improvements to the intersection at the intersection with SR 113. We're looking at a few alternatives there, and we'll review these during the tour. And we're also working with Deer Creek Island State Park. That area sees a tremendous amount of visitors, especially during the summer and especially on weekends. And so we're working with them to address the challenges that we're seeing there. There's a lot of congestion, and we've seen some accidents there, and so we're working to provide better access in and out of that area. Currently, we are in the environmental phase of that analysis. We hope to have that completed later this year, and then we'll roll into final design, and hopefully within a year later next year, we'll be moving into construction. Some of the challenges in this area that we're dealing with is because of where it's at. It's up against some heavy rock cuts on one side and the reservoir on the other. We know that doing the excavation through this area is going to be very challenging, and so we are looking at perhaps some split alignments that'll help reduce the cuts and hopefully the other challenge on this one is going to be maintenance of traffic and trying to keep the road open as we go through the construction phase of this as well. And so those are some of the things that we're looking at as we move forward. Next slide. And then the final project I'd like to talk about is a study that we're currently involved with. This is our US 189 corridor study. And this study goes from the mouth of Provo Canyon all the way up through the SR 113 junction on 189. As growth continues to happen and traffic continues to increase through the Provo Canyon area, we're getting a lot of pressure with access and adding more access and pressure on the various intersections along there. This is a scenic byway area, and we want to be able to preserve the nature of the scenic byway. And so the goal of this study is to look at developing a vision for this area going forward, and be able to develop a plan to help manage the access and identify projects where we can make improvements through this corridor. As part of this study, we are holding a community outreach component of this as well, where we're meeting with many of the land use owners along the area to get a better understanding of their plans. We're doing a traffic and safety study, and then we'll be looking for opportunities for improved access and improvements along the corridor. This is a fairly quick study. We plan to have that completed later this fall. So with that, that is, I guess if you have any other questions on this one or on this study or the 189 project.
No question, Craig. Thank you.
Thank you. So with that, I will turn the rest of the time over to Matt Parker.
Hello. Good morning, everyone. My name is Matt Parker, and I just wanted to present you one slide about an update on the Provo River Parkway. I'm sure you're pretty familiar with this one from a few months ago. We are in the final stages of design right now. We have a bit of an issue with a property owner and adjacent property owner, and so we're trying to work through that. He's given us some information and trying to work through to figure out how to proceed forward with that. But we are still planning to advertise it later this fall, November-ish. And so we're moving forward with it.
Just remember, Matt, we don't have issues, we have opportunities.
Yes. There's plenty of opportunities here.
Thank you.
Any questions on this? Okay. With that, we'll move on to the next one that Eric Rasband is going to present.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you for the opportunity. Last week, Commissioner Van Tassel and staff met with XCL Energy Resources. If you'll remember back in February, we had another energy extraction company come and meet with the commission during one of the public comment periods, talking about the growth of energy extraction in the Uinta Basin. This graph was a graph that was presented in February and continues to be shared. I want you to focus on the blue down in that lower right quadrant. If you'll look in, basically you've got January and you see a spike in that blue line. That is an increase in production. This XCL group is currently actively drilling 36 wells, and they expect those to come online July of this year. That will in essence double the production of oil in the Uinta Basin. So beginning this July.
Up to $2?
We hope, right? And basically due to where we are from an energy extraction standpoint and in the nation, they are continuing that drilling operation, and they anticipate drilling up to another 60 wells by July of 2023. And that would be the next spike that you see of production coming online.
Mr. Chairman, I would say, just for clarification, to make sure everybody understands, these wells are now drilled. They're in the process now of completing them, doing the fracking and setting up the tank batteries. So this first 60 is done as far as the holes are done. Now it's the finishing, bringing them on, and that's how quick this is coming to us.
The black dash line is the capacity of the Wasatch Front refineries. And the upper graph is the trucking elements. So in essence, the Wasatch Front refinery is at capacity today, and the new extracted resources need to be trucked over 191 south of Duchesne into Price to move to rail to go to refineries in the Gulf Coast area. And due to that, we're expecting a lot of increased demand on the US 191 corridor. So we are working with Region 4 to study that corridor to identify potential options for enhancements. This XCL group is asking for passing lanes, pull-off areas to chain up their trucks, do emergency maintenance if necessary, cameras to help in trip planning, and then also they're asking for help with increased winter maintenance, to the point where they've even suggested that they're willing to bring resources to help us with that winter maintenance. So we're in the process of negotiating this scope of work. It's going to be a quick moving study. We anticipate we'll have something completed this fall. And then we hope to use this as an input to the next update to the long range plan moving forward. And so we just wanted to make the commission aware of this. We're in a unique position in the Uinta Basin and the growth, and there's a lot of opportunities moving forward. So thank you. And I believe that, yes.
So they still intend to truck it to Salt Lake City despite the fact that we're full of capacity?
There will be no more oil going to Salt Lake City than there is right now. Everything that's coming in above that black line has to go the other way.
So we'll still see trucking along Main Street and US 40 and on I-80 going into those refineries, but it's the same number that we have today.
Thank you, Eric.
I think,
Please.
Just a quick comment, just from my perspective, such an interesting time. I had to fill up with gas to come up here today. It was 60 some odd dollars. But, yeah, but I just think it's important that we do remind ourselves how really unusual it is to be an energy state. I think there's only about 12 states that are oil and gas producers, and we're one of them, at least of any significant size. And when you hear that we have among the most well-diversified economies in the country, this is one of the reasons, because we have a little bit of everything. So, and it's just a little way to think about, what we're looking at here and how important it is to our economy.
Thank you.
I might say that I filled up too.
How
It
much
was
was
only
yours?
$20, but that's for my lawnmower.
I was about
Telling the truth.
$165 in my truck.
Holy mackerel.
75, you said?
$165 to put diesel in my truck yesterday. So
Drill, baby, drill.
yep. This,
So
this
you're
group alone
65,
is
yeah.
investing 400 million in the energy extraction this year alone. So there's big investment happening. So,
Thank you.
yep. Thank you. That concludes our presentation.
Okay, thank you. Well, I personally like the idea of the alternative WD-40. Has a good name and good rhyme to it. If we can proceed with that. Mayor, I hope you can get this presentation and take it to your council, talk to your council people. There's a lot of money coming to your communities, a lot of money. And if there's any public meeting you guys meet, so please share this information. Let them know that UDOT and Commission working hard
Yeah, yeah.
to provide what is needed for your communities and surrounding communities. So thank you. Now in the public comment section, I would like to make sure that when you come to the microphone, introduce yourself and of course speak with the good tone, friendly tone. We're your friends. We are here to help you recognize the time, and please do not repeat the same thing if the previous speaker has said. We have a time crunch to get on the bus tour. We have a bus that is coming by 10:30, so be mindful of the time. I would like to welcome and acknowledge my dear friend, Beth Holbrook from the UTA trustees. Thank you. I wish you were here in person. She will be followed by Marie Doherty, Clinton City Council, and we have some written emails that we will read to you right after them. Beth, go ahead, please.
Well, thank you so much. And good morning, everyone. Good morning, commissioners. It is lovely to be here with you this morning. For the record, Beth Holbrook, trustee with Utah Transit Authority. And I wish I was there in person with you because I'm hearing about your tour and I'm like, I wanted to jump on that bus. I thank you again for the opportunity to speak this morning. I really wanted to talk on behalf of a project that's going to be later on in your agenda. It is the historic Orchard Parkway Trail. I'm calling it the Hop Trail, but maybe that's not a good moniker to keep. I don't know. And I wanted to speak in support of this trail. And I wanted to kind of give you some background on what the value that we see. And as I'm hearing your presentations just prior, one of the elements that I think is really critical is UDOT is looking at all forms of transportation. You had information on certainly on roadways, but also on active transportation and transit. And this trail is actually designed to be a connector active transportation trail. And it is currently in the regionally important active transportation project list. And the funding for that is the discussion that you're going to be having today. And I will tell you that Box Elder is a county that has some very unique elements. And I think it's very similar to the Wasatch Back. There are parts that are really getting a lot of attention for development, and then parts that are more rural. And this particular piece is in the three southernmost cities, which is Willard, Perry, and Brigham City. And this connector is really designed to be a active transportation trail that's just adjacent to a future frontrunner line that we are building heading on up to Brigham City. I know that I'm happy to answer any more questions, but I recognize your limited time frame. So I just again wanted to tell you how much we support this project and how we look forward to continuing our our partnership as we develop for various projects throughout certainly the Wasatch Front. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Any question from trustee? Thank you, Beth. We'll see you next
Thank
time.
you.
Am I up?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I apologize. Will you be terribly offended if I offer public comment on a subject unrelated to your Heber tour today?
Well, we will charge you 10% only for that.
I do apologize. I had to catch you while I could, however.
Go ahead, please.
Mr. Chair and members of the commission, thank you for your time. My name is Marie Doherty. I'm on the City Council in Clinton. That's North Davis County, UDOT Region 1. You recently allocated funds for the widening of one of our main corridors, SR 37. So my first order of business is to say thank you. The project includes a new interchange at I-15 and will result in a new gate for Hill Air Force Base. So I assume those items influenced the prioritization of this project. The interchange was funded a while back, but your recent allocation made possible the widening of SR 37 in Clinton first in preparation for that interchange. And so it was a wise move on your part to allow for that to be done in the right order. So we're very grateful for that and thank you. SR 37 intersects with another state road, SR 108, which is the other main corridor in our city. So UDOT is king of the crossroads in Clinton. SR 108 has been overdue for widening and is finally slated for construction next summer. But the project is only funded to a certain point. So after its completion, we're expecting travelers to start bottlenecking as they move back to one lane around Lowe's and to be in full parking lot mode by the time they reach Winco and Vasa. So at that point, they're crossing the Weber County line, and that road is already so backed up every day. SR 108 is unquestionably our busiest corridor. Its traffic volume is clearly higher than that of the recently funded SR 37. So alongside our gratitude for all the good you're doing, I just need you to hear today from my mouth as an advocate for my city on this topic that is of vital importance to us, that SR 108 needs more funding. So I'm in a position to hear ongoing frustration from residents and from city staff and the city council members of neighboring cities who frequent our area. And they all say, wait, UDOT isn't planning to end there, are they? So that's just my comment today. Please don't wait several more years to widen farther northward on SR 108. I know you operate under constraints, and I sympathize with the balancing act that's required of you. I appreciate any consideration you can give for this concern, and thank you so much for all you do. I hope you have a wonderful time at your meeting in Heber today.
Thank you. Thank you for coming online. Thank you very much. Okay, Jeff, you're up again.
Commissioner Kramer said that I was dressed for church, and I don't know if if this qualifies for a religious experience, but we will do the best we can. So the first comment that we received that was submitted to via the email comes from I believe that's how you pronounce his name. He is with Vision Zero Utah, and I will read this to you. Dear Commissioners, as a founding member of Vision Zero Utah, a group that advocates the National Vision Zero Network values in Utah, I am submitting this public comment to highlight the need for rethinking the strategic safety plan, and given more than 10 years of non-attainment and acceleration of fatalities, adopt a new approach to eradicating vehicular violence from our roads. I know that there will be skepticism about this claim of 10 years of non-attainment, but the enclosed chart, which he attached to the email, shows that the goal made by UDOT to reduce fatalities by half in 2030 for those experienced in 2010. The trend lines speak for themselves. We are headed in the wrong direction, and instead of changing the direction, we seem to be doubling down on what we ought to now know is a failed strategy. The US DOT has put forward a national safety strategy, and in it, they have adopted a Vision Zero safe system approach, a fundamentally different approach to roadway safety based on the principles of 1, death and serious injuries are unacceptable. 2, humans make mistakes, like driving under the influence. 3, humans are vulnerable. 4, safety is proactive. 5, redundancy is crucial. I won't go into further detail since everyone can read the fully funded US DOT new policy. What I want to do is demonstrate that all of us already benefit from a similar network's use of the safe system approach. May is National Electrical Safety Month. Every year, about 400 people die and over 4,000 are seriously injured throughout the USA. Each person losing their life in a preventable incident is tragic and preventable, but compared to the more than 40,000 deaths due to vehicular crashes, it seems like a dream come true. So what are they doing that our transportation system could emulate? Like a freeway system, electricity is moved across the country through a network of high voltage cables, so dangerous for people, grass, and animals, so the cables are kept at great heights and away from people and residential zones. As the electrical network approaches a settlement, it is stepped down to a lower and more manageable voltage to be distributed through the city efficiently, but is still kept high above the ground to avoid contact with people. And finally, as the electrical current reaches our homes, it is further stepped down to a measly 110 volts, a voltage that is deemed safe enough for interaction with people. However, throughout the system, redundancy is extremely necessary. From CFGI outlets in your house that promptly cut off current at the slightest hint of overload, to transformers that blow up during a stormy night when the current goes out of control, at every step there are proactive safety controls that ensure the system remains in control while employing redundant measures that protect the ultimate user, humans. Taming human mistakes and improving the system-wide failures requires the same mentality and approach employed to tame electricity, and that, at its core, is the difference between a system that relies on mistake-prone humans to act mistake-free and a system that mistrusts electrons and relies on proactive safeguards and redundancy. We can and must do better. Utah enjoys the advantage of having a very highly capable group of professionals that, along with other stakeholders, do an amazing job in providing a reliable transportation network. But that is not enough. We must provide them with a fundamentally different strategic set of guidelines to maximize both their potential as well as our community's safety. Thank you. It also adds a PS. One more thing, as of today, the 25th of May, the Zero Fatalities website has ceased to update current information since May 17th. This lack of transparency is worrisome, and safety advocacy groups like ours would like to know what has caused this lapse in information sharing with the public. Our next submittal comes from Park City, from Mayor Nan Worrell and Matt Diaz, City Manager. Dear Utah Department of Transportation Commissioners, we are writing to support of UDOT's Active Transportation TIF funding sources that advance transportation in our beloved Utah communities. Thank you for considering Park City's applicants for these funds. Park City residents and council have adopted aggressive policies to continue transforming our community into a place with equitable transportation options for users to live, work, and play. We are in the final stages of adopting our transportation master plan called Park City Forward that solidifies the transportation visions and goals of our community. We continue to work closely with UDOT, local stakeholders, businesses, and community members on advancing transit and active transportation projects, including the ones currently listed on UDOT's TIF and TTIF nomination sheets. In 2011, Park City formed a walkability committee, as part of a bonding effort to identify and prioritize pedestrian infrastructure. The Snow Creek Crossing project is one of the final projects to exhaust the bond funds and complete a nearly 12-year effort. The Snow Creek Crossing will increase pedestrian safety by providing a grade-separated facility across the busy SR 248/Kearns Boulevard and connect users, many of whom are Park City's important workforce and visitors, on one side to key services, groceries, and amenities on the other. We appreciate the Commission's consideration for TIF funding and, more importantly, prioritization for this critical project. We are writing in support to clarify that our AT TIF funding priorities for Park City, as we have numerous AT needs. We have prioritized in order of importance to our community, which include 1, Snow Creek Crossing, funding by active transportation TIF funds, pedestrian-oriented east-west from Iron Horse sidewalks, pathways, and crossings, also from that same funding source. Bonanza District multi-use pathways and pedestrian crossings on Munchkin Road, Woodbine, Homestake, and Kearns SR 224. And 4, historic Old Town sidewalks and pedestrian improvements, also under those AT TIF funds. Lastly, we appreciate the complete funding recommendations for TIF first mile, last mile on the 2 projects, SR 224, Kearns Boulevard, and Bonanza Drive, transit amenities and Prospector Avenue transit improvements. These projects will directly benefit our well-utilized transit system. Again, thank you for your consideration and for supporting Park City's transportation projects. Sincerely, Nan Morel, Mayor, and Matt Diaz, City Manager. And the last comment that was submitted comes from Salt Lake City, from John Larson, who is the director of their transportation division. To members of the Utah Transportation Commission, I wanted to take a moment to thank you for your support of balanced and sustainable transportation investments in Salt Lake City and throughout the state. As our region continues on its breathtaking pace of population and economic growth, cars alone cannot meet our transportation needs. In addition, investment in walk, bike, and transit infrastructure helps to clear our air and ensure that everyone has an opportunity to participate in our economy. To that end, we feel obligated to maximize the benefits of the regional transit investments that have already been made in Salt Lake City, even as we continue to work together to expand the system. For example, we are currently investing $20 million in city dollars to rebuild the 200 South, with a major emphasis on supporting the 1,100 buses per day using this corridor, some with standing room only at peak hour. The Commission's investment last month in a transit hub and signals along 200 South will help us optimize transit capacity, serving the regional rail network, commuter buses, downtown, and the University of Utah. It is my understanding that this month, the Commission is considering further investment in transit in the form of first last mile enhancements. Salt Lake City put in nominations for a number of projects that will help current and potential transit riders find it safer and easier to walk, bike, and roll to and from tracks, frontrunner, and stops along a total of 17 regional and local bus routes. We are grateful for your consideration of these projects, as well as for your considering possible TIF active funding to construct a key gap on the regional east-west Parleys Trail in the Sugar House Business District. Once again, I want to say thank you for the wonderful partnership and foresight by you and other state leaders that are helping us grow and prosper together as a community. John Larson.
Thank you, Jeff. On behalf of Commission, for those that they have sent their comments via email or virtual, we thank you. Thank you for your concerns and your comments. And they're all noted by the different department heads and of course by the commissioners. So thank you very much. Next item of agenda is our dear friend Ivan Marrero from Federal Highway Administration with a big checkbook and a deep pocket.
Not the biggest check. but
Not the
still
one yet?
A little check, a little bit of check, little money. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. I'm Ivan Marrero. I'm the Division Administrator for the Federal Highway Division Office here in Utah. Thank you again for giving me a few minutes to bring to you the attention a few items from the federal side. I'll try to be brief. I know we got a bus to catch, so let me get going here. So, is it the click? What did I do? Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry. Okay, there we go. So we have, just real quick, we have a portion under the bridge replacement and rehabilitation program, $12 million for Utah this year. These funds are available till 2025, or to be able to get it by 2025, and they can be used for bridge replacement and rehabilitation projects on public roads. So that money is available to be put to use. This one, Utah is one of 8 states who has taken on, or who has requested and received approval to take on the environmental responsibilities under the National Environmental Policy Act. So basically we have 2 memorandums of understanding with the state. One is under section 326, which covers the categorical exclusion type of documents. And then the other one is the section 327 that covers the larger documents like the environmental assessment and the EISs. Some of the projects that were presented to you by the region kind of fall under that category. So the section 327 expired in January of this year. So we've been in the process of renewing that and negotiating with you that on the terms of the MOU. We are to the point where everything has been agreed to. It has been published in the Federal Register and the comments have been addressed. So Carlos signed it, I think it was Friday, and we've sent it up to our administrator's office to be signed. I was hoping to announce that we signed it, but I've been checking my phone and we haven't heard from it yet. But it is in our headquarters office, ready to be renewed and signed by our administrator. I do want to thank Carissa Watanabe and Brandon Weston and the other people in the Utah environmental section. They've done an amazing job managing these two programs. They have been audited just about every year, and we have not detected anything serious. So kudos to them for doing such a great job in handling these environmental responsibilities. And hopefully maybe by the time we're done with the bus tour, I'll hear that it's been signed.
Just a question.
Ivan,
Yes.
just a question. You said there are only 8 states that do this. This is definitely advantageous for us, yes, in the way of time and process.
I believe Utah will tell you that it is advantageous for them in as far as time, but yeah, it kind of takes federal highways out of the approval process, which could add some few more months or weeks to the process, and I think they've been able to. I don't know if we have any numbers yet as to whether we've increased the process or not, but it is. I know Utah likes it a lot, so they're very happy with it. And finally, I mentioned this at the last time I was here, but the Safe Streets and Roads for All discretionary grants program. At the time I spoke to the commission last time, we had not come out with a notice of funding opportunity, but it was released on May 16th. So this program is out there. Unfortunately, state DOTs cannot apply for this program, but the metropolitan planning organizations, as the towns, counties, and cities, and also tribal organizations tribal governments can apply, or a combination of can apply for these grants. So I just put here just so that anybody who's listening to the commission is aware, and I added links to where they can get more information on this program. It is, the purpose is to provide funds so we can improve safety on our roads. So it's a very good program, and I anticipate there'll be a lot of applicants from Utah on this one. And I've added several, I'm not going to cover them, but we do have a lot of webinars scheduled to educate people on how to apply for these grants. So, and these are some of the times and the links on how to get that information. So hopefully anybody interested can just click on some of these links and get that information. And again, as far as grants, this is the same slide I used last time, just sort of where some of the other grants that are coming our way. The green ones are the ones that I've highlighted that fall more under the federal highway responsibility. And I'm sure Ben will touch on them later when he gets up here right after me. And just a link to where anybody who wants to learn more about what's in the bipartisan infrastructure law can go and get information. So all this information is there, will be in the minutes, so anybody interested can go and find more about all of this. So that's all I have for you today. Be glad to answer any questions.
As usual, good job.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ivan.
Thanks, Heather.
With apology, I'm going to go back to public comment section. I understand that we have someone in the public in this setting that would like to say something. Don't be shy. There's no charge. I guess not. Thank you. Well, as Ivan mentioned, next person in line is Ben Hewitt Professor Fun, who's going to come back and talk about grants again.
Grants are fun. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. Ben Hewitt, UDOT Program Development. So I just wanted to highlight a couple of items today. We've talked about, we have a long list in our tracking spreadsheet, but I wanted to highlight a couple that I can update some information since we talked last month. So namely the Multimodal Project Discretionary Grant Program, or MPDG. This grant program, it's a little bit different than we've seen in the past, where they've packaged 3 different grant programs within a single notice. And the benefit of that, one of the good things about that, is that any application that you submit is also considered for any of the 3 with a single application. So for UDOT, we put together a grant submittal for what we're showing here is I-15 South Iron County Freight Mobility and Safety Project. So that's got the I-15 widening passing lane section south of Cedar City, and also including the South Cedar City interchange packaged together as a project. That one, we did submit that. The deadline was this past Monday. We submitted it just at the end of last week. So that one is in consideration for those 3 different grant programs within that MPDG opportunity. The other update is within that same grant program. Unfortunately, we found out that the Front Runner Forward project that we were planning on submitting, that there was a clarification in the notice, and that project ended up being not an eligible project for that grant program. It was as simple as there was an or in the notice, and that turned into an and because of that, that project was not able to be eligible for that grant program. We will be continuing to work with UTA on that Front Runner Forward project. What we were planning on submitting for this program was a small portion of money for the design of that, but we are continuing to work with UTA on this one for some Federal Transit Administration, or FTA, grant programs, namely I think it's called the Capital Investment Grant, or CIG, on this project. So anyway, I just wanted to give a quick update on those 2. I did, the grant list that Ivan Marrero showed, there's a couple on there that they say May, and there's still a few days left in May for some of those notices to come out. So I know the one that we've already had internal discussions on within UDOT is the Bridge Investment Program. There's been a lot of great opportunities for formula funds on the bridges, but that's another one where our structures group is watching that one. We've already met, and they're putting together some ideas on that one. And then when the notice comes out, that'll clarify the criteria, and we can maybe even go after some more for some bridge stuff. So.
Would you clarify, are most of our grant responses done in-house at UDOT, or do we farm those out to consultants? Just curious.
We have some internal people that manage. We do have a consultant contract to help with some of the grant writing, and some of the, different grants require different analysis, like benefit cost analysis and things like that. So some of that work we do use a consultant for. Yes.
I just want to say thank you for the creativity, particularly on the multimodal. MPDG, if I use initials, will you be extra proud of me? I appreciate the creativity, looking at that as a potential solution.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item agenda is UDOT scoreboard. I would like to see who's brave enough to start that. Oh, Lisa.
Good morning, Lisa Wilson, Deputy Director for Engineering and Operations. Carmen's out of town, so I'll do my best. So just to start off, you can see we're working on a total of 691 projects. Our project teams are extremely busy. We have 8 projects currently past due. However, we're still exceeding our goal of the 85% advertised on time. So far this year, we've advertised 115 projects totaling $447 million. Over the last month, this chart has a little data quality issue. We didn't advertise Mountain View corridor. But April and the early part of May, there's about 25 projects we advertised for a total of approximately $100 million. So this chart shows when our projects were planned and the ones that are late. There's 8 total. Most of them are either local governments or they've got some right-of-way utility type issues. The other thing we have going on, especially with some of these right here that are, scheduled in this time frame, the project teams are evaluating whether or not we really should be advertising right now. The market conditions being what they are, contractors are generally fully booked up by this time. So if we're advertising for work this year, our prices are going to be even higher than what we've already been seeing. So there is some evaluation going on by the project teams on some of these moving forward. The last thing I just want to show you is our contractor payments are ramping up. See, in April, we were about 55 million. So far in May, we're almost to 30. So we're hitting up to the peak season. You can see previous years, the peak's definitely coming our way. So are there any questions on project delivery?
This amazes me that every time how many projects you do advertise and how much money you spend. That is amazing. Thank you. Did a good job. I'll make sure Carmen knows that, Lisa.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Troy Peterson, Operations Director. I get to talk today a little bit about our zero fatalities strategic direction. First thing I want to touch on real quick, though, there was a public comment about the Zero Fatalities website. Appreciate that. I mean, it makes me happy to find that people are referring to that webpage and looking at those things. We did have some housekeeping issues last week in terms of we had some servers being moved, whatnot. I think DTS can maybe attest to understanding more of the details behind that. I'm happy to report that as of this morning, that we are now up to date with that website and it is reflecting current data. So just wanted to touch on that one real quick. Let's see here. Okay. Zero fatalities. Looking at our numbers for the year. First, I want to step in and maybe look at the at our fatality rate. Right now, our fatality rate is 0.94, and which is a little bit down from last year. Last year, we ended at 0.96. We're still seeing that incline. Fatalities we know are going up. VMT is also going up, so those two have a relationship to help push those up. As you can tell, though, with that number going up, that our fatalities are still outpacing the VMT by showing that to go up. I wanted to touch on a VMT. I think last month there was a question on VMT, and that particular graph wasn't working. It's been updated to this month, and you can see that for 2021 we ended at 34 billion VMT statewide, which is up from even pre-COVID numbers. So I think it's fair to say that our volumes on our roadways are increasing. I think it's out driving around will attest to that. So far this year, I think this number that we're showing for 2022, that's only through March. We'll get some more data as the year goes through, as they validate those. We'll start to see those numbers go up for 22 as well. One thing I'd just like to report that FHWA, for 2021, they showed a 11% increase to 2022, that's nationwide on VMT. Utah, we saw a 13% increase, as you can see from that number there. Also, when you look at we talked about VMT, I missed a comment I wanted to put in here. From a nationwide standpoint, our National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, they presented their numbers from the nationwide basis at a fatality rate for 2021 is 1.33. Which dropped a little bit from 2020. think 2020, our numbers was 1.34 as a nation. You can see how we compare from a nation, ours is being 0.94. Okay. Okay. We'll move on to fatalities. So far this year, we're sitting at 116 fatalities. You'll remember our goal or our target is to reduce fatalities by 2.5% of the 3 previous years, which those numbers obviously we're still higher this year moving forward than we want to be. And when you look at the nationwide again, I'm going to refer to that same NHTSA, National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. Their report, they're showing that fatals were up 10.5% nationwide. I think that number was like 42,000, a little more than 42,000. And in Utah, we saw that. You'll look at our graph for 2021, and we've talked about our number at 328. We saw a 19% increase in fatalities. So we're definitely a little on the higher end of that average as we relate across the nation. One thing I'd like to point out too, when we look at the 116 fatalities that we have this year so far, 51 of those are what we classify in our vulnerable user group, which are our vulnerable user group, which a vulnerable user group is our pedestrians, our bicyclists, and our motorcyclists. That's the way that we talk about them here at UDOT. We've had, so far this year, there's been 28 pedestrians, 6 bicyclists, and 17 motorcycle fatalities. That percentage is 44% of our total fatalities, which there was a comment about safe system approach, and there's some guidance in that document about spending money. If we're 25% of our fatalities are in that vulnerable user group, and we're going to definitely be in that group. And Carlos has already made a comment. I mean, if you would have met with Mayor Mendenhall and talked about committing more money towards vulnerable users work, and that's something that we're definitely focusing on heavily with UDOT. So,
Question.
Troy, does
Yes.
that percentage echo across the country, or is that high, that 44% vulnerable users?
I don't have that specifically. I can give you some numbers here real quick. So from a nationwide, pedestrian fatalities were up 13%. Bicyclists were up 5%, and motorcyclists were up 9% nationwide. Now, I don't have the breakdown to say what that rolled up into that group. Okay, let's see. Last item I wanted to talk about real quick is seatbelt use. So you may have seen an article in the newspaper earlier this week, maybe it was last week actually, talked about more than 50% of our fatalities this year have been most that are unbuckled. This goes back to our behavioral portion of driving safe. I talk about those quite often when I'm here, but that number is that's an alarming number when you hear that 50% of our fatalities are individuals who are unbuckled, when it's such a simple task, right? This weekend also marks the beginning of our 100 deadliest days. And I would like to just stress the importance of those 5 driving behaviors that we bring up here often. Those are to wear a seatbelt, drive focused, safe, alert, calm, and most importantly, sober. I think there was a quote I saw recently, and it said, no one is safe unless we're all safe. And that's something I just like to add on here and see if there's any questions. That's all I have for today.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Okay, next item of agenda is consent agenda, of course, program development. Ivan Harden will be here to present that.
Good morning, Mr. Chair,
Good morning.
Commissioners. Ivan Hartle, Financial Programming Director for the department. Our item number 7 is the consent agenda, which contains the list of meetings or the meeting minutes for April, both the STIP workshop part 2 and the commission meeting that followed on Friday, as well as a list of projects that have funding available to either they've been awarded a budget recovery or is in the closeout process and has a funding available to be removed and reprogrammed. Again, included in the consent agenda packet is a list of our meeting. Change the view real quick. So this was our workshop, part 2, held at the UDOT complex in Salt Lake, followed by the commission meeting on Friday. And at the end, we have a list of projects, unfortunately this month. Project, the SR9 Rockville, with funding available to be removed and reprogrammed to the Region 4 Transportation Solutions Master Bin. Back to the top, our request today is a motion to approve the adjustments to the projects in the included table and approve the April 28th, 2022 UDOT Programming Workshop Part 2 minutes and the April 29th, 2022 Utah Transportation Commission meeting minutes as detailed.
Mr. Chair, I move for approval of consent items.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Motion and a second. Any other question from Ivan? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda is approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving from item 7 to item 8. Where is Mr. Cade Roberts?
Sorry, we're having some technical issues today.
I think it's amazing how we pull this all off, just so you know.
Thank you, Heather. Item 8A1, located in Region 3, SR 52 and SR 114 intersection improvements. This is a request to add $185,000 of transportation solutions funding. This project will modify the existing lane configuration at the intersection of Geneva Road and 800 North in Orem, allowing for a second westbound lane through the intersection. During the project review, it was recommended that it was determined that the additional microsurfacing material was needed. It was also recommended that the mobilization estimates be doubled and the traffic control costs adjusted due to the current market conditions since the original estimate. Located here on our map is I-15 on the right side of the map. Our request today is a motion to add funding to the SR 52 and SR 114 intersection improvement project as detailed.
Ready for a motion?
Please.
I'll move to approve that item.
Thank you. Motion and a second on item number A. One, any other questions?
Just a
comments?
comment after the
Please,
vote.
Go ahead.
Okay, just, I mean, they continue to, you got the front runner thing on the other side, you got a new gas station on this. I mean, it just continues to grow that area. So boy, anything we can do to keep the traffic flowing through that bottleneck is really important.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? So all in favor of number one, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 8A-1 is approved.
Thank you. Item 8A-2, also located in Region 3, the Saratoga Springs Pony Express Parkway, Redwood Road and Saratoga Road is a funding addition, a request for $600,000. Majority of this $3.8 million of currently funded is a local funding. Our request is to add transportation solutions to this project. Currently, Redwood Road only has a single left turn lane onto westbound Pony Express Parkway. This can cause significant backing due to multiple schools being located on on Pony Express Parkway. The Pony Express Parkway from Redwood Road to Saratoga Road is a local government project. It will reconstruct this addition will construct the fourth leg of the intersection of the Redwood Road and Pony Express. The requested UDOT funds would add dual left turn lanes on Redwood Road to shorten the queue lengths and wait times at the signal. Located here on our map, Redwood Road here in the center of the Pony Express Parkway. The image. Our request today is a motion to add funding to the Saratoga Springs Pony Express Parkway, Redwood Road to Saratoga Road project as detailed.
I move for approval of that. Once again, like I said last time that you all have been out there, it just continues to grow and grow. And the high school, the junior high, elementary school, all at the same time there. This certainly will help get the traffic moving through that intersection a little better.
I'd like to second that. I spent 3 light cycles getting through there 2 weeks ago.
We have motion and a second. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 8A-2 is approved.
8A-3, also located in Region 3 in Roosevelt, the State Street 800 South to 300 South is a funding addition for local funds. The scope of the project is to widen shoulders and add sidewalks to accommodate pedestrians and bicycle access. In addition, it will address drainage and rehabilitate the roadway surface. The project was advertised and bids came in over the estimated project value. The bids were reviewed and determined that cost increases on labor and materials caused the overage. Roosevelt City has provided a letter stating their desire to proceed with awarding the contract and a commitment to provide the additional funds needed to complete the project. Shown here on our map in Roosevelt.
We're all looking to you.
Included is the letter from Roosevelt City, from the city manager. Our request today is a motion to add funding to the State Street 800 South to 300 South Roosevelt project as detailed.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve.
Thank you. Motion and a second, and we love local communities with their contribution. Thank you, being our partners. Any other questions, concern on this project? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 8A-3 is approved.
8A4 is information only. Region 4 continuous count stations, Phase 1 project. This project will design and install 6 continuous count stations in Region 1 on high priority routes. Continuous count stations help the state meet federal requirements to quantify the volume as well as classification of vehicles on highway segments. The CCS helps with future planning of projects by having real-time traffic data. Region 1 has worked with central planning to identify and prioritize possible CCS locations. This project will design and install the top 6 ranking locations off of the Region 1 continuous count station list. Located or shown here are locations in Box Elder, Weber, and Davis County. There's a picture of what the continuous count station looks like. Again, this is informational only. This project has been approved by the Deputy Director Authority given in the Utah Transportation Commission Policy 01-01.
Go ahead, please.
I know this surprises you. I might have questions about something I haven't heard of before. So we want to install 6 more of these in Region 1. What's the status of these units in other regions across the state? Did we just find that we had a lack of them in Region 1 and why we needed to do this now? Or just, again, this is something I've not learned yet about. And I've only been here for 5 years. I know it's been a long 5 years for all of you, but
We're counting.
I believe that we have been kind of progressing through the regions, adding count stations, and if anybody else has more, yes, we've been, Eric, you have more content on this, but it is something that we've been trying to find a way to fund. Those is important to our business, but we've been doing it a region at a time. It's my understanding.
Eric Rasband, Region 3, previous life with UDOT. We have about 350 of these count stations throughout the state, and this is just expanding that network to give us more reliable data.
okay. Are there other needs for this that we need to look forward to in future
Sounds like
months
we're
here?
expanding our
Okay.
system.
Okay.
So,
May I just say, as a commercial real estate person, these are very, very valuable to us to determine where additional new properties will be done. All kinds of traffic counts are key to demographic information. I just got a request yesterday from some folks in the government sector seeking access for this for other developments as well. So thank you for doing it.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I think this is a great time to just make a comment. I am so grateful that while I served in the legislature and while UDOT's been actively, I'm just glad we're where we're at. I can't imagine what it'd be like in the state of Utah right now if we had waited 5 years or 10 years. I mean, every place has choke points, issues. It would be so much worse if we hadn't done what we've done. So thanks to UDOT, to the legislature, and to all those who, took this on and accomplished so much, and yet we have so much left to do. But I just think that for those that are listening in and those that have commented, we had several comments. We are just a growing state, and the easy fruit is gone, and we're now picking and working on the upper ones. So be patient with us. We realize that all of for the state of Utah, all of the highways must function together. And I think we're in the process of trying to do that. So thanks to this commission, as well as to UDOT, our local partners, our federal highways. We could be so much worse off. And the conditions of our roads, while not perfect, are better than most.
Well said. Thank you.
Next item, 8A-5, also information only. This is a local government project located in Region 2. The scope of the 500 West, 3300 South to 3900 South project is to reconstruct the roadway, the existing roadway, upgrade the drainage system, install bike lanes, and rebuild the signal at 3300 South. Recently, bids were open with the low bid coming in 40% over the engineer's estimate. The main items that came in high included mobilization, traffic control, roadway excavation, and the untreated base course. South Salt Lake would like to award the project so construction can begin this summer. The city has committed to adding the entire shortfall of $2.2 million. This TIP amendment will be presented at the Wasatch Front Regional Council meeting, actually today, May 26, 2022. Shown here on our map, between 3300 South and 3900 South. Included in the packet of materials is the letter from the city engineer with the commitment to the city, from the city.
Serious commitment by the city.
That's a serious project. Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Our next item, 8A-6, similar project, a similar situation, 4700 South, 4000 West to 5600 West. This is a local government project. The scope of the 4700 South project is to reconstruct the existing roadway, widen the roadway between 4000 West and 4800 West to provide 2 lanes in each direction with a center turn lane, add bike lanes in both directions of travel, and add sidewalk in gap areas. Recently, the bids were open, with the low bid coming in at 23% over the engineer's estimate. And the main items that came in were also mobilization, traffic control, the roadway excavation, granular borrow, and the hot mix asphalt. Kearns Metro Township would like to award this project so construction can begin this summer. The township has committed to adding the entire shortfall of $2.3 million. This TIP amendment is also being presented to the Wasatch Front Regional Council today. Shown here on our map on 4700 South. Included in the packet of materials is the email from Metro Township, the general manager and treasurer, committing to the funding. Again, this item was information only to the commission today.
Okay.
Our next item, 8B, is the project level approvals from the proposed project list. In the April 2022 STIP workshop, the department presented proposed projects with programs that required project level approvals. The projects listed in the 2022 programming workshop will be added to the 2023 to 2027 draft STIP. The Utah 2023-2027 draft STIP will be presented in June in the June 24, 2022 Transportation Commission meeting for approval to post for public comment. I'm going to come back to the motion in just a moment. Shown in the packet of materials is the list of the programs, the pavement high volume programs, and it's sorted by, again, we saw this in the STIP app, but just to orient a little bit, our list shows the pavement high volume by region, pin description, and then you can see which year the funding would be associated with. So shown region 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then the pavement low volume, again, same thing, region 1, 2, 3, and 4, with the out years 23, 24, and 25 years. Our bridge replacement and rehabilitation is these 3 projects here, followed by our transportation solutions and showing mostly in the 2023 year. At the bottom of our list, we're showing the Joint Highway Committee projects for the non-urban, small urban, and state park access projects.
You know, I just must interrupt to echo Commissioner Van Tassel's comments about how well planned this all is. It's just amazing to see the specificity and the vision that it shows. So congratulations. And I've been doing a lot of driving around with the holidays and been to several of those places, and these are things that we need to have the work done. So thanks for making it happen and programming it out go forward. Wish we had a lot of other examples in government of this specific and visionary, so thank you.
I'd take a moment and say I'm just the talking head. Most of the work's done by the group behind me.
Somebody's got to be the figurehead. There you go.
Our request today is a motion of approval of the proposed project list to be used to amend to the 2023-2027 draft STIP as detailed.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Second. Motion and a second. Any questions, comments? You've seen this for the past 3 months, so.
It brings back memories.
Right, you know, some of them are color coded for the Donna's benefit, but
I do miss the colors.
good.
Again, for those that maybe are listening online, those that will read this later for the group, our state highways is a system. And it's easy if we only circle in one small area to think that we're being neglected. But as we look at the system, there are a lot of projects going on. And everything's important to make it all work.
We are connected. We have to be connected. So for that motion, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item B is approved.
Next item, 8C. This is the following projects were recommended projects from the TIF active prioritization list. These projects were presented in the March and April 2022 programming workshops as well. So the TIF active prioritization, the list showing the project name, the total project estimate. The total project estimate, the required 40% match, and then the state TIF funding estimate as well.
You ready for a motion?
Oh, let's see, not yet.
Okay.
I get excited.
Our request is a motion to approve the TIF active prioritization project list as detailed.
So moved.
Thank you.
Oh, I'll second it. If it was reviewed by Ben, it's good.
Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 8C is approved.
8D is the TTIF first last mile prioritized project list. The following are recommended projects from the TTIF first last mile ranked prioritization list. These projects were presented also in the March and April 2022 programming workshops. Similar layout, the project description, total project estimate, the required 40% match, and the TTIF funding estimate.
I would move for approval, Mr. Chair.
I'd second.
Thank you for that. Any more questions from Ivans regarding this particular one? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 8D is approved. Thank you.
Our next item, the regionally important active transportation project list, 8E. From the 2022 Utah General Legislative Session, House Bill 3 included the following language from item 166 to Transportation Investment Fund Capacity Program of the $16.2 million provided by the Recreational Infrastructure Amendments, House Bill 409. Item 3, the legislature intends $10 million to be used for paved pedestrian or paved non-motorized transportation projects contingent on the political subdivision in which a project is located, contributing equal to or greater than 20% of the cost for construction, reconstruction, or renovation of the paved pedestrian or paved non-motorized transportation project. Item 370 of the same bill, to Transportation Investment Fund of 2005. The legislature intends that the Department of Transportation use the $30 million appropriated by this item for paved pedestrian or paved non-motorized transportation projects, contingent on the political subdivision in which a project is located, contributing equal to or greater than 20% of the cost for construction, reconstruction, or renovation of the paved pedestrian or paved non-motorized transportation project. These projects were presented in the March and April 2022 programming workshops. Shown here is our list.
Great observation, Ivan.
There we go. Thank you, Jordan. Our request today is a motion to approve the regionally important active transportation project list as detailed.
Make that motion.
I'll second.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. Any other questions, concerns, comments? Again, we've seen this before, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 8E is approved. Thank you.
Item 8F, this is the Aeronautics Capital, the Statewide Aeronautics Capital Improvement Program. I'll introduce the item and then hand the mic over. Each year, the Division of Aeronautics presents a 5-year program, the ASIP, to the Commission for approval and inclusion into the draft STIP. The ASIP is a planning level summary of projects and cost estimates of both FAA and state-funded projects in the statewide airport system. The ASIP is presented for review in May and approval in June and this will be added to our draft STIP, the approval to add to the draft STIP. Funding for the projects listed in the ASIP is not guaranteed until federal and state grants are issued. Included in the packet of information is a presentation from the Division of Aeronautics, and I believe Matt Mass is here, and I'll
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Matt Moss. I'm the Economic and Aviation Development Lead for UDOT Aeronautics. And I'm standing in for Jared Esselman today, who is on a well-deserved vacation. Although standing in for him, I don't think I could fill his shoes. He did give me some advice for presenting. I'm only 6 weeks into the job, so as he was running out the door on vacation, he said 2 things, Matt. He said, the commissioners enjoy a good joke. And he said, the second thing, if things start going bad, sing for him. Because I guess Jared sung for you in one of his presentations. So maybe that was earlier on. So my poor attempt at a joke is I would like to say that Jared is sorry he's not here and wishes he could be here, but he's in the tropics scuba diving. So I don't think he is sorry he's not here, and I don't think he wishes to be here. So
Good joke.
thank you. So this ACIP that is being presented to you for your review is a little bit different this year because of the stimulus funding, the bill funding, bipartisan infrastructure law that came out, awarded $15 billion to airports in the United States. And so what that did, and that was over a 5-year period that the airports received that. And that has been awarded for their fiscal year 22 to 26. And so it really kind of didn't present us issues, but opportunities, because it's money that we're receiving to help improve our aging aviation infrastructure. But they wanted the money spent as quickly as possible. And so FAA doesn't move very fast, but Congress says you're going to move fast, and we want grants issued in 2022. So you had already approved 2022 ACIP last year. And so what happened with this is that this additional funding kind of got things a little bit convoluted. And so where normally you're approving a 5-year ACIP, this year you're actually approving a 6-year, because there are some projects in 2022 that you'd approved before that had changed. And so the document that I presented to you for 2022, you saw was color-coded with green, yellow, and red. Green meaning that there was no changes to what was you approved in the previous year. Yellow, there was some funding changes, or that it got moved up in the year, or there were some other issues to it. Red was new projects that you didn't see last year that the FAA allowed airports to put in for funding. So the nice thing is that for 2022, Utah airports will receive $36 million. That funding is determined by either for the commercial airports, the number of enplanements that they have, and or for the general aviation airports, the classification in the FAA system that they are at. But most GA airports will receive at least $110,000 for the next 5 years added to their entitlement and discretionary and state apportionment that they already received from the FAA. With the bill funding, there is still a match that the sponsors have to come up with. And keeping in mind that amount that airports receive can fluctuate, especially for the commercial airports as their enplanements fluctuate. Salt Lake City enplanements go up over the next 5 years, they could be receiving more money. But just using 36 million as an average, that's going to inject another $180 million to help improve our aging infrastructure at our airports. So it's a good news for aviation.
Matt,
Yes.
110,000 minimum is automatic for next 5 years, no condition attached for the communities?
No, so there's no condition attached. Again, if their classification changes, that could mean they could either receive more money or they might not receive any money. But it's pretty stable right now, so I would imagine that there's no conditions attached. The other nice thing about this is that normal federal money is prioritized, and so runways, safety areas have to be taken care of first, then taxiways, and then ramps, and then federal money can pay for hangar development and fuel systems, but most airports, especially in my 30 years of experience in aviation, airports never have all their critical items taken care of, and so they really can never get down to funding hangars or fuel systems. The bill money does not have any prioritization and how they have to spend it. So an airport that's receiving 110,000 over 5 years, they have $550,000 that if they need a fuel system or if they want to put in hangars to provide a revenue source for their airport, they can do that with this bill money. So again, another win for the airports because of the requirement or lack of requirement to prioritize the bill funding.
And there's no timeline and to spend it, use it or lose it condition.
It needs to be spent within that 5 years. So
5 years,
yeah,
okay.
by the end of 2026, it needs to be spent. And if I'm not sure, but I would make the assumption that if a project is under contract and being completed and that 5 years lapses, because that money has been committed, I think the airport would be good as long as they're moving forward in good faith to complete that as quickly as possible. So that being said, this is what it would look like. This is what it looks like then with the addition of the bill funding and the additional projects that have been added. So, and what I realized that I should have done is compared, giving you a comparison to what you approved in 2022 to what we're presenting to you this year for 2022, because it is increased from what was approved last year. But you can see that, you know, federal is 64.8 for 2022, local is 11.3, and really the only state match to this is 3.4. So for a total of 79.7 million. So, you know, we look at that $3.4 million, we're leveraging, you know, $70 million for projects in the state, which is great. And aviation and the FAA is, you know, it's always been great the way that we can leverage local funds for the federal funds. So I'm not going to go through each line item on the amount, but if we look down at the bottom for the grand totals over the next 6 years, again, this really drives home that notion of how we can leverage the money in the state, because we'll be leveraging over the next 5 years $24.5 million for basically $425 million. So again, this money is critical for aging infrastructure, for development, for growth, economic development in these communities. And it's just really exciting that this bill money is coming online, and Jared will be back here next month, maybe. And you know, unless he gets too bitten by that tropical bug, we might not see Jared again. But One last slide that I just wanted to talk about was kind of the Division of Aeronautics ongoing programs that we've got with our education grants, the revitalization at airport grants, grant management program, pavement maintenance program, our aviation conference. We just had our aviation conference a couple weeks ago. Tremendous success. You know, we were hoping that we would get a good high 300, low 400 registrants for the conference. We ended up at 508 registrants for the conference. So very successful conference, and we heard a lot of good feedback. And the only negative feedback was that there was so much information that people couldn't go to all the breakout sessions to enjoy what was there to be presented. So
Was that in conjunction with the drones conference as well, or is this a separate event? I'm just curious.
it was a separate event, although in the aeronautics conference, there was many breakout sessions that did talk about drones, but I'm not sure what you're referencing as far as drone conference.
I thought it was advertised as part of this, but there's lots to talk about in that world, I'm sure. So
Yeah,
conferences
yes.
abound.
So yeah, so there was a lot of drone discussion in this conference, so a lot of breakout sessions and training sessions on drones, because we know that it's not a matter of if, but when it's coming, and how it's integrated into our transportation system. So
May I also congratulate you on what the Provo Airport with their new gates. That's been a huge,
yeah,
you know, Breeze and others are saying it's there. We're going to take advantage of it. So congratulations.
yeah, we're even where that we've got airlines that are looking to base aircraft there and as a maintenance hub, and so yeah, Provo is just growing by leaps and bounds. So yeah, very exciting.
Well, and just in contrast to the bigger airports, I love the fact how this is spread all across the state to the little teeny tinies that otherwise would go very, you know, their needs would go very unmet.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and $110,000 to a small general aviation airport is like $22 million to Salt Lake International, so. But that's my presentation for you. I'm happy to answer any.
PCI data, I'm sorry, before you got that
Okay.
last slide. PCI data collection is?
So one of the things, the pavement condition index, and so right now, the way that that's collected is that we go out, we put eyes on the pavement, or somebody goes out and puts eyes on the pavement, and it's very subjective. I look at pavement, and Craig Ide, who is with me today, who's our engineer, will go out and look at pavement. His training's a lot better than mine, and so we're gonna differ as to what that pavement looks like. This program that we're looking at doing, and we've got a very good rate to do this, is actually using drones to go out and inspect pavement, and then using artificial intelligence to take that data and give us that pavement condition index. And so it takes that subjectivity out of it. It also is a lot more efficient and cost effective to do that, because you can actually do it rapidly, and the company that we're looking at using can send out multiple teams and collect data at airports multiple times. So taking a look at this and seeing how we can integrate it into our everyday business that we're doing, but it definitely increases efficiencies, and I think it increases the effectiveness of our pavement condition index collecting. So
You did good, man.
well, thank you.
Thank you. The joke was good. Do you want to sing?
No, unless you think I need to sing to recover from my presentation,
Fine.
but okay, I'll prepare.
Rain check.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Included in the packet material is the list that Matt talked about. Green meaning that it was approved in last year's program. Yellow means that it was adjusted, and red, a new project.
And that was for information only.
This is for information only this month. And that's good because there's a lot. I'm gonna just keep it sitting here scrolling.
Our governor will be happy with this rural emphasis.
We take action on this next month.
Yes.
Yes.
Aeronautics. Right. Kevin is our unofficial reviewer of all the rural transportation growth with your travels, correct, Commissioner?
I don't know. I can think of one or two of these airports that need it.
Yeah.
Okay, our next item, also information only, 8G, is the Rural Transit Program, the draft 2023-2024. Each year, the UDOT Rural Public Transit Division presents the statewide Rural Transit Program to the Commission for approval and inclusion into the draft STIP. The statewide Rural Transit Program is a planning level summary of projects and cost estimates. The Rural Public Transit Program is presented for review in May and approval in June. Funding listed is not guaranteed until federal grants are issued. Currently, in our rural transit program, there are no state funds included. And this is information only. There's 2 pages. The 2023 program and the 2024 program. And that is all for me today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is information items, commission committee reports. So I would like to start with the Commissioner Gardner. If you have anything to say about your committee,
Yeah, no committee report this month. Thank you.
okay. Commissioner Van Tassel?
I attended a Zoom with Wasatch Front. They're actively working through the projects. They have several new members. They're training those, and we got to have our open meetings training again. They're active and working.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Lowe?
Corridor preservation continues to be active and busy, and I again thank Charles Stormont and his group for catching up. There's a lot of work to be done, and they're doing it, and it's very impressive. May I just, since I have a microphone, just say that I see Chris Peterson there, so I know I have to mention something about signs, and I'm doing a lot of other driving and see that there's still signs that need to be upgraded around this state because there's such a visible tourist and just branding for our state. So if you want somebody to keep track of what's happening in signs, I'm your guy going forward. So anyway, thanks for what the work has been done and will be done on that as
We
well.
just send you our list. Lou, is that what you just invited?
I'm happy to put that list together, and I'm grateful for the regional directors that are so responsive in a world of
Yeah, we had quite a bit of ferocious winds for the last 3 months, so. that
right,
was
and
across
snow
the
and
zone.
et cetera. But anyway, I'm still on that high horse. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Evans?
Had a chance to kind of attend something different last week, just not too many blocks from here, was the, Rob invited me to the Region 3 Road-EO Rodeo, and it's an annual event that they have for all their staff, equipment operators to come and test their skills. And they've got cones lined up, they back up the backhoes, the big trucks, then they get teased or they run over cones and things like that. But boy, I was just so impressed with the skills that our equipment operators have, and there were, just in this region alone, and you go throughout the whole state. The other thing that impressed me was how many openings we have that we can't fill these openings right now for equipment operators, and especially I think Region 2, it was 20, what was it, Rob, 27, 20? 37 openings right currently to fill those positions. So I get the word out for all our regions of trying to fill those. But it was that was impressive to watch their skills as they did that last week, and just the people we have working for us. So thanks.
And due to the reorganization of the Community Impact Board, we didn't have a meeting, and we don't have any idea when it's going to be the next meeting. But I had the opportunity to attend town hall meeting in the Region 4, specifically 700 South and I-15. We tried to figure out if there's any possibility of or need for any change. Virtually, we had 85 attendance, and then in person about 145. Is that right, Rick? So we're working on this, some kind of study and get some the same concept that we have for the Heber City. And then my DTEC meeting was also included some local area, region important streets and bypasses. So St. George is growing, as Commissioner Van Tassel mentioned. We try to figure out how we can get the people moving in the streets in Washington County. With that, next item of meeting for the commission is June 24th in Logan. So put your calendars together for that day. We may have a tour and staff meeting the night before, the day before, but we don't know yet. With that, any other reports? Terry, Lisa?
If I could just take a second and thank all the commissioners. This is kind of a culmination of a lot of lists and a lot of time spent talking about a lot of projects. And I just want to say that we talked about it being a system approach. That system includes roads, it includes transit, includes active transportation. And so you approved multiple different types of lists. And I think when we start talking about all users, you're going to hear that from us more and more. When we talk about all users and think about that very carefully, I think we can start to get to safety for some of those vulnerable users. So I appreciate the time spent making sure we get our lists right, and again, looking at all users and all modes of transportation.
Lisa? With that, on behalf of UDOT Commission, I would like to express our love and gratitude for all you do. You're lifesavers. Thank you, Heather, for the detailed minutes that you prepare every month. Makes us so smart, looking smart anyway. And thank you, Ivan, for the Federal Highway and beautiful job you do. And Brigitte, thank you. And all of you that made the comments online or in person or via email. And thank you, Mayor, for hosting us. It's a beautiful community. We'll do our best to preserve it and try to give you some solution. With that, I need another motion to adjourn the meeting. Not disputable. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day and happy Memorial Weekend to all of you.